Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Sandra and I make videos all about cybersecurity, having a career in technology, as well as work blog. So if you haven't seen already, I recently made a video on the top 7 coding languages that you should learn for cybersecurity, and I can link that video below if you're interested in checking it out after this video. So in that video, I discussed the top 7 coding languages to learn, as well as the ways that you can apply them in cybersecurity. But I wanted to take a step back and make a video about why you should learn coding in general and how it's going to help you in your career. Okay, so going into reason number 1, which is that coding is probably hands down the most transferable skill in technology. Wherever you're working in tech, in the medical sector, automotives, energy, etc., learning how to code is really going to be that skill that you can bring into any of these sectors. And another awesome thing about coding languages is that once you kind of pick up 1 or 2 of them, it kind of becomes a snowball effect where you're actually able to pick them up way faster than before, because you kind of have the basic foundations of what a coding language is and what it's used to do. For example, my first coding language was Python, and then after I learned Python, it was a lot easier for me to learn Java. Even though Python in general is a more simple language than Java, I actually had a harder time learning Python than Java, just because I had that foundational knowledge from Python when I was going into Java, that I basically was able to pick it up so much faster. And after a while, you're going to see that ripple effect of, hey, I know this language, so let's see if I can do something similar in this language, which 99% of the time you usually can, unless it's something really niche and there's no library out there for it yet, but most likely there is. And from that point, when I went from learning Java to C#, I picked up C# much faster, even faster than I did with Java, just because of that foundational knowledge that I had. And coding as a transferable skill can bring you into so many different roles, not just as a software developer, which brings me to the next reason why you should learn coding, which is reverse engineering. So when you're working in technology, not only is it helpful to be able to build things out and understand how they work from beginning to end, but it also helps to use those coding skills and that background knowledge that you have to be able to also understand things from the end to the beginning, if that makes sense. So basically, with this finished product, whatever application or whatever malware exploit that you're kind of looking at, being able to look at that and understand how it functions, what makes it work the way it does, and basically being able to deconstruct it from what it is into the little bits and pieces that you can understand individually in its most simplistic form, is really going to benefit you and going to help you further your understanding of technology, especially if you're working in a space like malware, source code analysis, software engineering, etc. So basically being able to know how to code something up from scratch is also kind of like the basic foundations or knowledge of being able to also tear something down and being able to understand each of its parts individually. Which brings me to my next reason, which is being able to take advantage of your coding skills even if you're in a non-technical role. So I know a lot of people who are developers or have been developers and they want to do something else. Well, that's perfect, because especially in a field like technology where there are software developers, but then there's also so many different roles that support software developers and engineers, like project managers, product managers, UX teams, QA teams, DevOps teams. There's so many different teams that basically work around or revolve around that software engineering space. And the most beneficial skill to have as those non-technical, or you may still be technical, but you may not be coding necessarily. So that's what I mean by non-technical roles. But basically in those roles, it's still going to be really beneficial for you to be able to know how to code, so you're able to speak to developers. For example, if you're a project manager, a lot of big tech companies and companies in general out there want their project managers to be able to understand code, or to be able to have coding background or some kind of technical background. So then when a developer tells them, hey, this story is worth 8 points because it's actually really complex because of XYZ, and if that project manager doesn't necessarily understand all of the technical things that go into a certain story or feature, then when they're talking to the stakeholders or the customers about, hey, yeah, we can build this out in a week, but you actually cannot build that out in a week. It may take a month. So because of that, it's actually really helpful to have a project manager who is technical, who has some kind of coding background, and is able to really talk to the code even when the developers aren't there, and especially to just communicate with the developers about what the customer or the stakeholder wants. So you'll find that a lot of roles in technology, it's helpful to have that coding background even if you're not necessarily coding on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so the next reason you should learn coding is probably one of the most obvious reasons, I think, which of course is a higher than average salary, as well as job security. So by now, I'm sure you guys have all heard, if you look up a list of top paying roles in general, just like any career, technology, IT, coding is probably going to be at the top of the list. If anything, probably right under medical or doctor, which of course makes sense. But if you're looking for a job that all you really need is a bachelor's, even an associate's, or a boot camp, honestly, a lot of big tech companies and companies nowadays aren't really requiring a bachelor's degree or any degree at all. So don't let that hold you back from being able to choose one of these bigger companies if you have that skill set and that background in coding. But even smaller companies in lower cost of living areas, you're most likely still making a lot more than the average income in that area just because you're a developer and you have those coding skills or those technical skills that companies are really looking for nowadays. And of course, the job security, you have so many different options to be able to go into different fields. For example, if you're in the health sector now, but you want to go into renewable energy, then taking those skills with you, those coding skills, there's so many companies that are looking for that. There's so many companies that will be willing to hire you, and especially at a premium salary. And I'm not saying to choose technology or choose a career in tech just because of the pay, because obviously if you do that, then you may, get by all your classes and you may do well in them, but at the end of the day, you're still going to be not feeling fulfilled from your job and your career on a day-to-day basis. So of course, make sure you like it first before you go in. And even if you don't like coding, don't let that steer you away from technology. There's so many different roles in tech that just because you don't like coding doesn't mean you won't like cybersecurity or data science or UX design. There's so many different roles that people tend to kind of skip through because they're so focused on, oh, I don't like how to code, so I don't want to be in tech. But don't let that be a deterrent from you chasing some other role in tech that isn't necessarily coding on a day-to-day basis. And honestly, job security is there for most, if not all, careers in technology. So don't be afraid to get a little creative with the kind of roles that you're applying to in technology, even if you don't come from a technical background. Because obviously we need so many different minds and creative thinkers in tech to be able to create innovations and cross-disciplinary things. So if you're just looking for a reason to be in technology, this is a sign for you to kind of kickstart that. Okay, so the next thing is something that really resonates with me, and one of the key reasons why I really got into coding, which is to help deepen your understanding of things as well as problem solving. So you've probably seen so many different roles, job descriptions that they want problem solvers and critical thinking skills and thinking outside of the box. And these are all things that coding really teaches you. Because if you think about it at a really basic level, if I'm coding something up and there's something wrong, I'm trying to figure out what is wrong. Sure, I might have a compilation error, but I need to figure out where it went wrong and why it's not working, or why something is returning false when it's supposed to return true. And me looking through all the layers of my code or my application and being able to see where it went wrong, basically debugging, is a really good way to train your problem solving skills, because you're looking for things that go wrong. So you have to logically figure out, okay, so this is going right, this is correct here. Oh, at this point it starts going wrong. Let's see what's wrong with this method and see where I can fix it, or why it's not returning the value that I expect. So debugging is a really good skill. And when I first learned coding, I hated using the debugger because I just didn't think I was good at it, and it was really annoying to step through. But after I actually learned my third coding language, which was C#, and that was when I really started using the debugger, and that was when I really stepped up my game and understood what was happening in my code, because I was actually able to step through and look at where things were happening and what things were doing in certain methods and where things would be going wrong. And you can see the exact values of all the variables in your code, what methods are being used, you can see where it's calling it. It's so convenient. And basically being able to step through a problem like that mentally as well as through your code is really going to help you boost and enhance your problem solving skills, because you're thinking from that logical perspective of, okay, this is giving me the wrong answer, but I know there should be a reason why in here somewhere. And it just being able to think from that logical step-by-step process that a debugger brings you through is really helpful in your day job, whether you code in your day-to-day job or not. Okay, so the next reason is that more and more different sectors, companies, countries are coming online and being digitalized, and eventually I really believe that coding is going to be maybe not necessarily enforced that every single person has to learn coding, but I do think that it could be really possible in 10, 20, 50 years from now to teach coding in schools as part of your curriculum, just like math and writing, because so many different countries and different parts of the world who may not necessarily have had access to technology or the internet beforehand are getting access to it now in the 21st century. There are going to be more and more technological innovations and more companies coming online, which means there's going to be even more of a demand. And in technology jobs and especially jobs in coding. So just being able to keep up with the new industries of the future and whatever new sectors or fields or companies that are going to be coming up in the next 10-20 years, you're really going to want to have a skill like coding that is able to be flexed in so many different fields, and also being able to talk to people who are technical so you're able to kind of stay ahead of the curve in terms of career growth and career trajectory. Okay, so the next reason is probably one of the biggest ones as well, which is that basically you can create your own ideas from scratch using your skills, and also being able to automate different things to make your life easier. So let's say one day you have this really cool idea and you want to build this mobile app and you think it's going to be super popular and useful for people who might use it. And if you just had some background in coding and being able to learn how to pick up a new language like Swift or just Android Studio, then you're really good to go. You're the one woman or one man team that is going to basically build this product from scratch because you have the skills to do so. And there's nothing stopping you from building the next Facebook or building the next Instagram. And of course, if you're someone who is interested in entrepreneurship and tech startups and that whole venture capital side of things, which I'm very interested in as well, it'll help you a lot, because nowadays a lot of these startups do really well because their founders are technical founders, or they have one technical founder and one non-technical founder that kind of work hand in hand to build startups from scratch. And if that's something you're interested in, then coding is going to be a really helpful skill for you, because you're going to be able to hire different engineers, you're going to be able to talk about the design plan as a whole from what your perspective is, and you'll know the limitations or the possibilities of what you can actually build and what might be harder to build that could be put in your backlog for future functionalities or features. So basically you can build something from the ground up, and all you really need is an idea and being able to have that persistence and preservation to push forward with it. So that's another reason why I think coding is a really, really good skill, because once you learn it, it's going to be in your toolkit, it's going to be in your back pocket forever to be able to help you achieve whatever that you want to do. And of course the community that comes with all of that. If you aren't already aware, the tech community is huge, and there's so many different pockets of tech, whether you're just focusing on one specific language, whether you're a huge Linux geek and just love all things Linux and Linux commands and different distros, whether you're in digital forensics and really like using digital forensics tools. There's so many different areas in technology, and I guarantee that you will find a community in any of those areas and be able to look up a subreddit or look something up on Google and being able to find articles on all of those things and different online forums to be able to push your questions, get answers from different people who are already in that area or know about that topic that will be more than willing to help you, especially Stack Overflow, which is your friend. Okay, so I rambled a lot in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you found it helpful. Please let me know in the comments below a reason why you started coding that may not have been included in this video, or maybe even a reason why you haven't started coding yet, and then we can all kind of chime in from the community and kind of answer your questions or be able to provide any advice that we can. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and turn on post notifications if you did. I post videos every Wednesday at 2 p.m. and Sundays at 12 p.m. and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!